Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from Simple 123 Trader. This is the weekly playbook outlook for the week of July 24th to 29th. Taking a look at what's setting up for the currencies, futures, and stock market indices. Starting off with the US dollar index, and just to get an idea of what we could expect for the upcoming week. We've had quite a run in the US dollar, and this is on a monthly time frame. We've been in very strong up moves for months on months, with only one little break about 3 months ago. So now on the weekly, we've looks like we've hit a peak and are starting to retrace this move. So coming into this week, based on last week's performance, there we had a big red bar there on the weekly, and so starting off looking like we're still going to be heading to a lower prices as the week unfolds. So I would not be betting on any moves up if we get any moves up, and that's totally likely as well. We could be looking for further sells. So we could see a head and shoulders set up at this point, and breaks to the downside. So opportunities for lower prices as we go into this week. And we have some big news coming out, of course, this week with the Fed's interest rates in the United States and so forth. So should be a most interesting week in the markets. So taking a look at Australian dollar, this is on the daily. It's had quite a strong push to the upside. So if we have continued moves to the downside for the US dollar, we can see continued strength in the Aussie. Right now it has hit a peak, and we could see a little bit of a pullback in the short term before we see price moving back up again. Okay, so we've come to a low, made a push above the previous highs, and now we could see a pullback before we get any further moves. So a little bit of weakness perhaps in the Australian dollar to start off. With Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been in a struggle. We've had quite a drop recently, and then sideways for quite a while, and now it's starting to move to the downside. So I'm looking for further weakness in Bitcoin and assault on the lows to break to new lows coming into this week. Okay, so further weakness in Bitcoin as we move into the week. Okay, so let's take a look at crude oil. Crude oil also has been in quite a move to the downside, as you can see, and we are sitting now at a very strong support area. So will we break through this area to the downside, or will we bounce from this point? Looking very weak overall, and we could see another push to the downside. Will we break through? It is totally possible we could break through. If we do, we have another level of support at this point, and we could come into that area here before we see some kind of a bounce at this point. So a little bit of weakness in crude oil, but if we get a bounce, then this could be a signal that new prices, new highs are going to be available for the upcoming week. But right now, looking a little bit weak to the downside there for crude oil. Taking a look at the DAX. DAX also very weak, trying to push out, looking like a little bit of a struggle to start off, but we could see higher prices as the week unfolds. We could see a pullback first as well before we see those move to the upside. So we're kind of sideways right now, and we could get a drop first before we get that move to the upside. Okay, so that's the DAX. Taking a look at the Canadian dollar. It had quite a strong move up in the last week, and now is taking a bit of a breather and a pullback. So we could see further pullbacks in the Canadian dollar before we see continued moves back up again. Okay, so overall, if I go to the weekly and look at this, you can see that it's been a bit of a grind. We've been at a very strong support resistance area. We broke through, albeit briefly, and now we're pushing back up. So I would look for a pullback before getting another move to confirm the continued move to the upside. Okay, let's take a look at the euro. Euro on the weekly has been in quite a downward spiral, and if I go to the monthly just to see what's over there, we have broken through previous support at this level, and it's a possibility that we could see a turnaround based on the trajectory of the US dollar. So if we get some strength or weakness in the US dollar, we could see some strength in the euro going into this week. But right now, looking a bit precarious still. So what the US dollar does is going to be the key for the euro. Right now, again, we're kind of sideways, looking for another push up, perhaps, but that might be short-lived, and we could see further moves to the downside. So should be quite interesting again this week with all the news that's coming out. Okay, so taking a look at Swiss franc. Swiss franc, as you can see on the daily, being chopping up and down in this sideways channel and looking to push back to the upper channel this week. Okay, so continued strength in the Swiss franc, it looks like, going into this week. All right, let's take a look at gold. And gold, it too has been having quite a battle, and also sitting at a very strong support area. We could see further moves to the upside. We have quite a strong trend where it's been hitting these areas over and over and over. As you can see, we've broken through. So I could see a push back up into these levels for the week. We've got a pin bar there on the weekly, on the daily time frame, looking to possibly set up a strong move back up into this area here. Okay, so a little bit of strength in gold, and of course, again, the news will also have effect on that, on this commodity. Taking a look at the Japanese yen, it also has been in quite a decline. You go to the monthly, see to the left, and you can see it has broken clean through its support area and has just continued going down. So we could be at a point where we could get a bounce or not. Okay, so very weak overall. You can see it is trying to make a little bit of a turnaround, but is it real, or will we just bounce off it again, as it usually does, it has been doing anyways? So we'll see how this plays out. We could see a move above, but we'll get a pushback and then another go anyways. So in either case, a little bit of weakness still in the Japanese yen overall. The New Zealand dollar is trying to push back at this point on the daily, so I would expect a decline, just like the Aussie, a decline down before we see a push up and out. Okay, Litecoin, these are all basically the same as the Bitcoin, so I'm not really touching on them too much, but a lot of weakness in these coins, and you can see further declines going into this week as well. This is the Nasdaq 100, and it's also, I'm just going to go up to the weekly real quick. On the weekly time frame, we have come back into a very strong support area. This push to the upside recently might be just coming to an end, and we could see further declines. And again, the news coming out this week is going to be a big proponent for the movements here. So we're very much at previous highs, and I could see continued pressure breaking through this trend line to the downside as the week unfolds. Okay, so looking for weakness in the NAS. That would be the same for the US 2000. The same kind of pattern. I expect further weakness coming into this week, and the same thing for the Dow. You can see if I put the Dow on, it's almost identical. And if I put the S&P 500 on, it's almost identical. And even the U.S. technology group, almost identical. So they're all doing the same thing. So expecting a move back down after this. You can see we're right inside of a channel. We've just been going up and down, and now we're on our way back down again, looking to break these lows at this point, and this point to the downside. Okay, so might not happen of course, all in this week, but overall, 5 bars down shouldn't take very long. So we could see price coming down pretty hard this week. All right, and then a final look was at British pound. I didn't take a look at that one. British pound, in line with the euro, has been heading down, looking to turn around. So if we get continued weakness in the U.S. dollar, we could see the British pound make a break to the upside. But we could see further weakness first before we see that move to the upside. Okay, so that's a look at what's setting up for this week. Keep your eyes on the U.S. dollar if you're playing the majors. Profitable trading to everyone. I'm done now. Thank you.